Hi guys. Hi guys. Hi. Oh, I love you guys too. All right. Grab my tea. And this is what it looks like getting ready to do a video. And I'm nervous and don't really know what to do or say. And I've thought about a million scripts, but it's hard to talk into a camera to people but yourself. But this is what it is. So, welcome to Books Brews and Dogs. My name is Rebecca. I am the owner of Books Brews and Dogs along with my husband. And I'm just here to talk a little bit today about why we got started and how it came about, and the existential crisis that is starting a business. And I'm hoping that I can get enough of the pups in here because we've got Murphy down here playing with his rope on his back, and he is a big inspiration for starting this business. And we adopted him after our cat passed, and this one, Mr. Perrin, was depressed, and so the vet said he probably needs another friend. And so we started looking at rescues and shelters and fell in love with Mr. Murphy. Yes, we did. And adopted him. And through the process of doing the meet and greets and making sure that they would get along, we met and became friends with people from Saving South Texas, which is who we rescued Murphy through. And just learned more and about how difficult it can be, and the struggles of running a rescue. And so we decided that we would try to help. And initially we fostered, and that was, we were both working full time, and so that proved to be a bit more difficult than we had initially thought it would be. And so we came up with a new way to help, and that was how Books Brews Dogs got started, really. And it wasn't supposed to be my full-time job, but I got laid off at the end of April this year, and the job market is scarce and it's hard. And so luckily, we had this kind of already going. And so we sat down and we talked about it and said, let's just do a push and try to make this work. So, and that's the existential crisis part of starting a business, is you never know how it's going to go. There's weeks where we make nothing, and then there's days where we sell 50 books, and then the next week we'll go and it'll be nothing again. And so this is what it's hard. Everything is up in the air until you get a base and get started, and we're not even a year in. So there's a lot of learning, a lot of not knowing that goes into running your own business and getting started. And it is a struggle. And there are days where I have definitely cried, and days where I've been celebrating because, we know that we're doing a good thing, supporting our community and supporting these beautiful, beautiful beings that just need love and help because they don't really have a voice of their own in this world. And, we're helping those that are helping give them a voice and protection and love and care. And they deserve that. They all do. They're so wonderful. But so yeah, to start the business, it it's kind of one of those things that sometimes you just have to jump in. Now we didn't start the business with the intent that it was going to be operating as our main income. We started this business as something we were going to do on the side as a hobby to help raise awareness and funds for animal rescue. And just life circumstances kind of turned it into this is now part of our livelihood. And so, but we just kind of jumped in. We started off with my TBR, my physical TBR pile was actually what the majority of what we took to the first market that we did. So I actually went through and all of the books that I hadn't read yet that I had bought was our first inventory. And that was kind of a bittersweet moment because I obviously wanted to read those books, and now I have to, go through processes of buying them again. And but we felt, it was easier to get rid of because it helped us give back to animals that need it. And we had a couple of new books that we had found and went and caught sales, and this was all before, we knew that the resale license, was being approved, in the process of being approved, and we were waiting for that. And so we weren't able to buy wholesale at that point. And so there was just a lot. Hi, buddy. So we used what I already had on my shelf and a couple of new books, and we went out and we did our first event off of what I already had in stock. And so we kind of, when we did this, thinking it would be a hobby, we kind of just went all in and, saved our money instead of doing holiday presents, and just got some things that we would need for running the business, the tent and, signs and business cards and things like that. And in some ways, I'm glad that that's the way we did it, that we kind of just jumped in thinking it would be a hobby that we were going to do. Because had I gone through all the planning and all of the things, I probably would have talked myself right out of doing this. And it has been very rewarding. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you have a business idea in mind and you're waiting for just the right time, I don't think there is a right time. I think we just kind of have to trust ourselves to be able to put ourselves out there and do it. And it's hard. Sitting in front of this camera recording this is one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it's such a simple thing to do, but it's hard for me, and it feels awkward and it feels crazy, but it's part of what we have to do. And so we started off with just a simple idea of selling books and using the funds from selling those books to help raise money for rescues so that they can feed the dogs, so they can take them to the vet, make sure that they're healthy, get them all of their vaccines. We did an interview with Saving South Texas, and they said a healthy dog costs, if I'm remembering correctly, about $800 to do all the vet checks, all the vaccines, to keep up with their flea medications. But, as soon as they intake a dog, it costs them about $800 just in vet bills. And then you have to figure they've got to help train these dogs, and they've got to find homes for them, and they've got to feed them, and they've got to get kennels and collars. And it's just, there's so much that goes into it. And so that was the goal. We would sell a couple of books and be able to donate a couple $100s a month. And that really, once we got going and really got started, that was really the goal, was to get there. And Ray and I pledged that no matter what, we would donate at least $50. So even if we didn't break even, we would make sure that the rescues got um, a $50 donation. And so whether we profit that month or not, the rescue gets a donation. And there have been less profitable months than there have been profitable months, but we've been managed to donate, at least $75 to $100 a month to the rescue. And we've started working with another rescue where, proceeds from that particular event were able to go directly to that rescue. And so, all of that, it really helps. It helps them be able to buy food for the pups. They rescue both dogs and cats. And, that was the main purpose of this. But in doing this, we also built friendships with other companies like Tabletop Teas, which we now work with. And instead of offering only generic teas that, we can go into HEB and buy, we offer um, a loose leaf made tea by a local small business, and she makes really amazing teas. Z, the owner of Tabletop Teas. And so we're able to do business with her, and we buy other small things from vendors that we work with on a regular basis, and we add those into our book boxes and our book baskets that we put on our tables at our events. And the book boxes, I'm working this week on getting up on the website. And so, you'll find little small things from our local community and our local makers that make these items. And so we extended, supporting our animal rescues into supporting our small businesses. And then by extension from there, I started reaching out to indie authors and looking to see if we can work out purchase agreements to have their books on our tables. And right now I'm working with one to figure out how to do ebooks. So if you have a Kindle or a Kobo or whatever e-reader you use, you can get a code and get the ebook. And so we'll have surprise ebooks soon. And and so now, this one small business has been helping, multiple other small businesses, and through buying their products and promoting their services, and then indie authors. And, I bought some books from 3 different indie authors. I've had one indie author donate a couple of her debut books. That was Jessie Called, which is a wonderful contemporary romance, but it will break your heart. And, and through that is kind of how the podcast got started, where when I met Lauren Sorensen, author of The Reluctant Star and Trouble with Christmas, which are books that, we've offered through our blind date with the book. And her and I happened to be in the same city, and we met to do so that she could give me the books instead of paying the cost to ship them. And a few weeks later, we were still talking, and I just kind of had the idea about the podcast, and I put it up to her, and she was like, "You need to do that. Like that, like do it. Just do it." And so she was the first interview that I ever did. And we're now scheduled with interviews out until March of next year, with a couple of spots in between that I'll be looking to fill. But there's it's just amazing. You never know what's going to happen until you just put yourself out there. And so this video is a little bit about getting you guys to know what Books Brews Dogs is, why we do what we do, and who we are. But also, just I hope that my messy journey in starting this business and figuring things out as I go helps to inspire somebody else to reach for their dreams, because I never would have thought that I'd be doing a podcast and getting to speak to all these amazing authors and learn their stories and enjoy reading the stories that they put out. And just, I've met some incredible people that, and learned a lot about their journeys and starting their businesses. And so, in between the author interviews, I plan on, inviting some of these small businesses that I've met, and encouraging them to share their stories a little bit. So hopefully, those of you out there that have been thinking about starting a business and have had an idea and might find some encouragement from all of the people who have already done it. And it's messy and it's scary, but there's something very powerful in it, and there's something very releasing in finally doing it. I remember when we finally made the decision that I would just put everything into this business, since, after being laid off and putting in applications for a couple of months and just getting overqualified or underqualified, because when you're looking for a job, you're just putting job applications in anywhere, trying to make sure that you can get that money in. And it was just, it can be disheartening doing that and frustrating. And so, since we had this business kind of going already, just for raising funds, once we made that decision together, where my husband was like, "Why don't you just put everything you have into this? It's for a good cause. It's grown faster than we thought it would already. And so why don't we just go for it?" And after that decision was made, I had several of our friends just tell me that, I looked better. I looked happier. I felt happier. I seemed less stressed. And it's crazy because I don't always know if I'm going to make the cell phone bill, right now. And I don't always know if I'm going to make the car payment in full at this moment. But I do, in a lot of ways, feel less stressed, less encumbered, less like I don't feel quite like I'm in fight or flight, and I work more hours than I did before. I'm working, 12 hours a day, not my 9 or 10 hours a day that I was working before. But there is a weight that has been lifted in making this decision. And maybe that's what's holding you back, is just the fear of the financial. Somehow we always manage to figure it out, and it's scary. And there have definitely been days where I've cried, but somehow we always manage to figure the finance parts out. So don't let that hold you back too much. It is something we have to worry about. It definitely is something that needs to be considered, especially if you have kids and dependents and ever, there's a lot to consider, but there is something very freeing in finally giving a dream a chance. And, this wasn't necessarily started off as my dream, but it did become my dream very quickly. And I see a lot of potential with this company, and a lot of ways to move forward. And, I've even been able to hire a couple of friends and help them out when they've been short on cash, not much, but just a little bit to help make sure they have gas in their car and things like that. And, they've been appreciative of that. And so you don't know what you're going to be able to do and who you're going to be able to help and who's going to be there to help you. And, you know, and it's just, until you do it, you just have to kind of jump in and do it. Kind of like I did with this video. I came up with 1,000 different scripts, and I felt I've recorded this 5 or 6 or 10 different times. I can't even remember the count at this point. And when I started it this time, I said, you know what, I'm going to throw away the script and I'm just going to do what I do and sit in front of the camera and feel awkward and just let it be, and it'll work or it won't, and it's going to go up. And that's what I do. I warn all of the authors. I don't edit. I might edit our laughing fits out to shorten a 2-hour interview as best I can. But if I edit, I think about it too much. And if I think about it too much, it's not going to get done because I'm overly critical and I could have done it better, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. And we do that to ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves. We're usually our own worst enemies. Thinking we need to be perfect before we put it out there. And that really holds us back more than anything, because we don't have to be perfect. Nobody is perfect, and we will get better with practice, they say. But it's just there. So, this is me. I'm Rebecca. I own Books, Brews, and Dogs. We sell Blind Date with a Book in order to raise awareness and money for animal rescue efforts in our area. And we try to help promote that through our Instagram page. You'll see me post some of the dogs that are up for adoption or that need a foster. When I follow a lot of rescue pages, so sometimes I'll post stuff from out of state even. When I like a rescue in New Jersey just got flooded with the floods that they had there. And, we had our floods here in Texas. And so our shelters are swamped with that right now. And so, I do what I can to help promote and spread awareness of those. But also just support the community in any way that I can, and support the other people that are, out here trying to live their dream and have their business and, just get through life in the best way that they know how. And that's really all any of us are doing or can do. So, if you have a dream, just do it. Start it while you're in the career path you're in right now. Keep moving forward with it. Do it on the weekends and at night, and start putting energy into it. And, the universe kind of forced me into, hey, this is growing bigger, and this is doing, you're going to have to put all of you into it. And, so I'm choosing to embrace that. I'm choosing to see it as my opportunity. And kind of running with it. And sometimes it's just what we need to do, is embrace the opportunities and try to see the unfortunate things. It's unfortunate I got laid off, but it is giving me the opportunity to try my dream. And I may never have let go of my job and just jumped right in and tried if I hadn't have been laid off. And so now at least I can say that I've done it, and I don't have to have it as a regret. And there's something very freeing in that. So if you have a dream, if you want to start a business, if you want to start a podcast, if you want to do something, just stop waiting for the right time and just do it. And that is really our biggest hurdle in anything, is waiting for the right time and waiting for it to be perfect. Stop waiting, stop trying to be perfect, and just be, and just do the things you love to do, and don't let anybody stop you. Because you'll figure it out. And don't put yourself in a box. I know it's so easy to say. It is not easy to do, but give yourself a shot, and, buy a book from us and help save a dog or a cat, um, or an indie author. That is one of the nice things in working with indie authors, is because we work with indie authors, there is less chance that you already have the book when we send out books, though we don't offer only indie author books. We do have quite a few on our table. So anyways, thank you for joining me for this. Thank you for watching it and listening to the ramble. And I hope, if nothing else, that you gain some encouragement to go out and try the thing you've been waiting for the right time to do. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week for Grace Spice's interview. And that's it. Bye, guys. Oh, my voice. Okay.